the SAT versus the ACT, which test is right for you? The ACT and the SAT are the two standardized tests that colleges use to assess your academic preparedness as part of your college application. The most commonly question we receive is, which test is easier? Well, there isn't a simple answer to this question. The two tests are actually very similar. Both tests have 4 sections and run about 3 hours with an optional essay. The ACT has an English section, math section, reading section, and science section, whereas the SAT has a reading section, a writing section, and 2 math sections. So the most obvious difference may be that the SAT doesn't have a separate science section. However, there are about 35 questions that ask ACT-style science questions throughout the SAT. For example, in the reading section, there are a couple of passages that have graphs that ask scientific questions. Neither test asks you to know scientific concepts, but to use critical thinking skills to answer these questions. So with all these similarities, let's go over the key differences between the two tests. The ACT has 215 questions, whereas the SAT has 154. On average, you have more time to answer each question on the SATs than you do on the ACT. For example, on the SATs, you have 75 to 87 seconds for each math question, depending on whether it's a calculator-based section or a no calculator section. Whereas on the ACT, you have 1 minute for each question. The ACT covers more math topics than does the SAT. For example, in the ACT, it includes geometry, trigonometry, logarithm, and matrices. These are topics that are actually reserved for the SAT 2 subject tests. However, in the SAT, it covers less of these topics, or none of these topics, and focuses mainly on algebra. Also, on the ACT, you don't have any formulas given to you. The main benefit, however, for the ACT is that the math section only comprises 25% of your total score, whereas on the SAT, the math section is 50% of your final score. That being said, the SAT is not all multiple choice. In the math section, there are several grid-in questions. For example, if you don't know the answer at all, you can't just guess and circle a multiple choice answer. You have to put in a number. About these multiple choice options, the ACT has 5 multiple choice options, whereas the SAT has only 4. So if your weakest section is the reading section, you may think, oh, the ACT may be easier because there are only 4 passages, whereas the SAT has 5 passages that you have to get through. The main benefit on the SAT, however, is that the questions go in chronological order. The first questions for that passage come first, and the questions that come later are answered in the later part of the passage. Also, most of the SAT questions give you line references. For example, they'll tell you in line 17 to 35, the author states something because A, B, C, D, E. There's no E. But in the ACT, the questions are really random, and the answers can be found randomly throughout the entire passage. The final difference is in the optional essay. The ACT essay is similar to the old SAT essays. For example, you kind of have to write a 5-paragraph essay based on your opinion. They'll give you a few options that you have to choose, and then you have to defend your choice. Whereas on the SAT, you have to read something similar to a newspaper article or a book excerpt and use evidence-based logic in order to answer the essay question. It's a lot easier to improve your SAT score than your ACT score. Doesn't mean that one's easier than the other, but it's easier to see gains in the SATs than the ACT. I'll explain more in the blog post. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or send us an email. Thanks! That's it. Bye! Oh my god, it's a mess.